Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Geico 15-Minute Moto Show. I'm your host, Ralph Sheheen. So let me ask you this question. If you were to ride a motorcycle and it could go, say, 100 miles an hour down the straightaways, it's 500cc, alcohol burning, but you got no brakes, would you be up for it? Well, Tai Woffinden is. He's our guest here today, world-renowned Speedway world champion. How are you doing today, Tai?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm great. Well, we're here in Mooresville, North Carolina. You're over in England. Where exactly do you live these days?
That's a funny question. Me and my wife was laughing. We're in a rental at the moment in England, and we have 4 properties scattered around the world, and we don't live in any of them. It's absolutely messed up, but we're trying to get it straight.
So explain to the folks here in the U.S., like myself, I used to announce Speedway here in the U.S., AMA Speedway. The bikes are the same. The tracks, nothing even remotely the same. And the style of racing is different. Over here, it's pretty much individuals, local tracks, that type of a situation. You're running for AMA points or local track points. In Europe, it's a much bigger deal. There's leagues, there's individual world championships, and there's team world championships.
Yeah, so in the individual world championship, we race kind of everywhere, and the points accumulate to the end of the season, and you try to win the world championship. And then I race for a Polish team in Wrocław, and we have like a 7-man team, and there's all the other teams in Poland, and we go home and away. And at the end of the season, you make the semi-final and then through to the final and try to win the league. So there's for sure it's a lot bigger in Europe. It's huge in Europe.
Yeah, can you put a vibe to it for what it's like when you roll into one of those stadiums? How many people would you see in the stadium? Because the folks here in the U.S. don't really get an opportunity to see just how big it really is. Yeah,
so the Grand Prix in Warsaw is in like their national stadium, holds 60,000. They sell out every year. The British GP is in the Millennium Stadium, or now the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, Wales. And they get like 45 to 50,000 there. So, closed roof, big stadium, everyone's got air horns and flags, and it's some atmosphere, I can tell you that.
So it's as big as any major motorsports series would be in Europe, or certainly here in the US. Those are massive sized crowds, crowds the same size as you might see for a Major League Baseball or football game here in the US. How did you go about getting to where you are now?
I started racing motocross when I was younger in Aussie, because I grew up in Australia, and then started riding Speedway when I was 12, got rid of the motocross bike, and then got to the point where I was going quick, and people were saying, "Oh, do you reckon you could head out to Europe and make a job out of it?" So my parents packed up and we went back to the UK and lived in a caravan for 3 years, and it was good fun.
What got you started on Speedway and made you make the transition out of moto?
Obviously, you guys know about sprint cars. So Daniel and Trevor Harding from Perth, Western Australia, they actually had a track in their garden, and they rode solos when they were kids as well. So we just went in there to ride motocross one weekend, and there was a Speedway bike tucked away, and I said I wanted to have a go on it. And my dad said, "Oh, you got to get rid of your motocross bikes. We can't afford to do both." And that was it. At 12, we was away on the Speedway bikes.
What was it about the adrenaline rush of a Speedway bike compared to, say, flying a motocross bike that really hooked you?
That's a tough one. I think it was just like, it was more of a challenge, because prior to riding motocross, I got my black belt in Taekwondo. I was like one of the youngest kids in Australia to achieve that. I think I got it in 2012. So that would have made me 2011. So an 11-year-old black belt in martial arts. And then there was the motocross, which was kind of like a thing to do on the weekends. And then I just fancied a challenge. I'm very impulsive. Like, I see something that I want to do, and I'm like, all right, let's go, let's do it. And I'm full steam ahead.
Okay, so you don't do anything just part way. You're all in on this stuff. So whether it's a black belt or a world championship. So where does that drive come from?
I don't know. It's kind of been involved in my life from day one. Everything I've ever done, I've just gone full gas on it and kind of not looked back. So whether that's investing my money, or I was skydiving this year, started skydiving again. Just everything's tunnel vision until I've achieved what I want to achieve.
So
Pretty
what's
cool
left
with that.
on the bucket list to achieve? I mean, you got these multiple world championships, you're a black belt, you skydive, very successful in a lot of ways and still a very young man. So what do you see down the road that's going to steer you to go full on after it?
Well, the only thing I hadn't won in Speedway was the gold medal for my country. So like representing Great Britain, which we won this year. So that was like the last thing for me to win in my sport. And now it's just how many world titles can I win? You know, I'd have to win 7 world titles to be the greatest of all time. I'm already the greatest British rider. But yeah, I want that goat status. So that's the goal for that. And then, you know, the skydiving leads to base jumping, and base jumping leads to wingsuiting. So there's always forever evolving. Like I backflipped my motocross bike at Josh Sheehan's. Now they have like air, like blow up bouncy castle down ramps. So the sport's definitely getting a little bit safer for freestyle riders. So you know, I set a goal, achieve it, and then just make the goal even more ridiculous. So
Does it ever get tiring? I mean, because when you do that, you are stressing yourself out so far to achieve those things, because none of those are easy walk-ups. So do you ever go, oh my God, what was I thinking doing this?
is it to a normal person? And yeah, it's probably is stressful. But for me, it's just like it's a part of me. It's built inside, that burning desire to do something that I've seen someone do. Or don't get me wrong, sometimes it like really messes me up. Like when I used to ride motocross, I'd go out with my mates that race, you know, British Championship or World Championship level, and I try to do what they do, and I really get messed up and have some big crashes. So the road's not always smooth, but I've got a little project that I'm working on this year with my skydiving, but I have to do it in Russia because the law everywhere else in Europe won't allow me to do it. So I'll just leave it at that, and you'll have to wait and see what it is.
You know, when you set something up and you say, I have to do it in Russia because everywhere else in the world it's illegal, that should probably give you a little bit of a warning that maybe it's not such a great idea.
But that's the whole fun of it, right? That's the whole fun of it. It's knowing what could happen. Well, not knowing what could happen. I think that's where I get the buzz from. But anyway, there's still plenty on my list that I want to do, and got a little family to take around with me and do all this crazy stuff that I do. So I live the dream, and you know, I appreciate every moment of it.
Well, we've caught glimpses of the sweet girls you have there. You have a beautiful family. Congratulations on that. That's another world championship you've won right there, maybe the biggest and best one. You know, let me ask you about that buzz that you're talking about when you do this, whether it's winning a Speedway World Championship or skydiving some crazy thing off in Russia. For those of us that'll never push ourselves to the level that you will, you know, we drink Monster. I know you're sponsored by Monster, so we'll have a Monster every now and then, and you get that energy going, and you know, maybe the hair stands up a little bit on your forearms, and you go, okay, I'm ready to go. What's it like for you, whether you're at the tape at a Speedway race or you're about to jump out of an airplane?
Total clarity. So the complete opposite to what you're thinking. This is where it gets like really where people might not understand it. So like for a lot of people, that first like going skydiving, like, oh my God, jumping out of an airplane. But when you're thinking about what you're going to do on the jump and making sure your exit's right and the maneuvers that you want to do, you know, if you want to, you know, do 50 backflips before you pull your chute or whatever, you're thinking about it, the body position has to be right. So you just have complete mental clarity. When I go to the tapes, you're kind of like in a flow state where when we come up to the start line and you're just in the zone that much that you know you can't hear the crowd, and you look down at the tapes where they're going to like the magnet releases, and you're just super focused on that thing, and everything else around is blurry. And that's just when you're switched on all the time. And for me, that's like when I was doing the backflip at Josh Sheehan's place, I was doing it in the foam pit. I was in the foam pit for like 2 hours before I did it to dirt. So that foam pit is just understanding the rotation of the bike, you know, what's happening. Oh, not enough throttle, wrong gear, I should go into it faster, I should go into it slower, and understanding it and then executing it. And that's where I think I also enjoy the process of leading up to what you're doing as well.
In today's world, how does somebody get to the league level of Speedway that you are? Here in the U.S., if I was to go race speedway bikes, I go buy a bike and start running at my local track and just going to work my way up through the divisions at that same track till I get to the highest level. But how do I do that from, say, being a local rider somewhere in the UK or Poland to then being a league world champion?
Yeah, so the same as if you was doing it in the States. Like I started in Australia, then I came to England and then started in the bottom ranks and just worked my way up through the levels. Then I went from England to Sweden and Poland, went up the levels into the World Championships, up the levels. So it's like when you're working for a company and like you're working for Monster or Geico and you start at the bottom and you want to be the top dog at the end of it and you just got to work your way up. You got to hustle.
With the no brakes concept, I'm sure there's a lot of folks listening in that are probably going, I just don't comprehend how you do that. How do you ride a speedway bike around the size of the tracks that you're on with no brakes?
It's actually like not as bad as it sounds because they have like so much engine brake. So when these things are on, they're on, and they're like 77 horsepower and the bike's 77 kilos. So it's like one horse per kilo. So that's a big power to weight ratio. That's why like a speedway bike accelerates faster than an F1. Like nothing can beat a speedway bike off the line. And yeah, they're just designed to do that, right? We don't need saying we don't need brakes. I could have done with a brake 3 weeks ago because I had a massive crash. I ran into my mate's back wheel with my left knee, and it just sent me full gas at the end of the straight into the fence. Could have done with a brake then.
Yeah.
Because as I shut off the gas to not hit his as the gap was closing, as I shut off the gas, the wheel stopped spinning and actually started to accelerate. Because we have wheel spin all the time. So when you roll off the gas, you can use the gas, you can get off the gas to make the bike go quicker, to slow the wheel down and get the grip. So yeah, it's for sure it's a different sport, but man, those things are so fun. Like the best feeling for me is like having it on the cushion and borderline being out of control, but you're in control. When you can find that like feeling when you're just on the edge of going through the fence, that for me is the best feeling.
That's total clarity.
That's like you can't explain the feeling. Yeah, it's amazing.
So obviously to run, say to be a world champion, Tony Cairoli, when it comes to moto, you have to have a certain level of fitness and have your body in one particular form to go racing. If you're going to be Marc Marquez, it's a different type of training. What do you have to do to train to be a world champion in Speedway? What are you trying to accomplish with your body?
Sure, there's a lot of HIIT training, but I've kind of over the last probably 8 years, I've done something different every year just to mix it up. So like 1 year I was doing triathlon. The last 2 years I've just done nothing but cycling. Now I'm back in with the guy. Like that's why we're in this rental in England, because I want to train with Kirk that trains out of here in Derby, where we are in the UK, because every year I train with him, I win a world title. So, but it's not just about the training. He's very good with the head and all that sort of stuff. So I'm looking forward to next year already. I've had my 2-week off season after the crash. I fractured my femur and my tibia, and just back in the gym 2 weeks later, just doing what we can.
And how much will you ride in a given week? Because there's some places some of those you could do multiple leagues in a week, right?
Yeah. So when I was racing England, Poland, Sweden, and the Grand Prix, right, you ready for this? I'd fly out to the Grand Prix Thursday night, practice the Grand Prix Friday, race the Grand Prix Saturday. Let's say it's in Germany. Saturday night after the Grand Prix, we drive through the night to Poland, race Poland Sunday. Monday morning, I fly to England, race Monday night, and then I drive after the meeting down to another airport, fly to Sweden Tuesday morning, race Tuesday night, back Wednesday, home.
That's crazy. You sound like a World of Outlaws sprint car racer over here. So when you get all done and you've won all the championships and you're now GOAT status in Speedway, what's next? Anything else racing? You coming to the States to try something?
I would definitely come to the States and have a go in a sprint car. I raced a few years back in Perth, only in the limiteds, like not the big one. Daniel asked me every year, Daniel Harding, to take the 410 out on a practice. But yeah, my mate's got a limited, and you know, that thing was just super fun to just get on the track and just rail it. And the difference between the transition from a speedway bike to a car is zero. Like everything is the same. Like hooking up the corner. The only thing is, like, we would turn in a lot earlier because we have no downforce. Whereas that was the biggest thing, just trying to like aim for the gate. And when I get 1 meter from the gate, turn the steering wheel. Once I got that in my head, and you know, you're chasing that 1 meter of dirt on the fence, just sitting on the cush. Yeah, that was good fun. I finished second on the night, which I was pretty disappointed about. I didn't want to be the guy to say it, but like if I had one more lap, I would have had him. But I really don't want to be that guy that says, "Oh, I could have had one more lap." But if I had one more lap, I would have
Well,
won.
Tai, before we let you go, for the fans here in the States that maybe are just learning about you now and want to follow you as you chase more world titles, where can they stay in tune with you from the States? Where can they follow you? What's a website?
My website is taiwoffinden.com, and my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is @TWoffinden. So super simple.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the time today. When you're ready to get in what we would know is a 410 sprint car over here, let me know. We'll get you over to Knoxville, Iowa. I think I got a place you might enjoy.
I'm ready. Just give me the shout. I'll be there.
Tai Woffinden, if he's not jumping out of an airplane somewhere over Russia, he's probably out winning the next world championship in Speedway over in Europe. Thanks for joining us here on the Geico 15-Minute Moto Show. I'm Ralph Sheheen. We'll have another episode for you every week right here on Speed Sport. See you soon.